Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Max. Good morning, Gavi. Thank you for joining us today in a conversation about humans and technology. And with us today is, thank you for returning, Max, is Max Kimble, founder of Kimble Analytics, and he is a cyber security consultant. And also with us is Gabriela Soto, who's a leadership and management consultant, and I've had the pleasure of working with for probably a good 3 years now, Gavi. So it's great to have you in our conversation today. And as we were coming up with the topic in the conversation is like, why have a leadership management consultant with us, and why have a cybersecurity consultant and a certified insurance counselor in one conversation? Why are we here today? And there's multiple areas that technology has been touching or evolving or expanding or shifting and changing the way that we do things. And one of the things that grabbed my attention as we were preparing for this conversation is that 82% of technology breaches are as a result of human error or social engineering. So what that tells me from a risk management and insurance standpoint is not so much that technology is failing or that the infrastructure of technology is failing, but it's like we as humans are either not taking the steps or getting tricked into taking steps that are putting our organizations at risk. And so that brought me into, brought us into the conversation of what's the organizational culture like, right? When we're looking at humans, there's the individual actions that an individual team member may be taking. And then there's the culture of the organization, from leadership to management to team members, and what's their philosophy or their strategy or their approach for managing risk and exposures. And so that's what I want to use to get us started. And Max, you have an IT background. Gavi, you have a leadership and management background. And, there's two different worlds. I in my own company have been leading and looking at technology for, the last 20 or so years. And so I've been grappling with, technology keeps evolving. New softwares are being created or the old softwares are being upgraded. And every time there's an upgrade, it implies change. It implies change to process or how we do things. And that involves getting people to change, getting team members to embrace a new way of looking at things. And it is a daunting task to ask human beings to change because we're, to a degree, creatures of habit, right? And we get proficient and efficient and at it, being able to do things. And then when the ball gets moved, then we got to learn a new skill or a new ability or a new step into the process. What do you see, in looking at it from a technology background, Max, from your world, as we look at cyber liability, how much does an organization's culture, from leadership, from management to team member buy-in, play into this whole process?
Well, as you mentioned with that statistic, right, 82%, I've seen 78, I've seen 80% are human related. So, companies spend the money on technology, firewalls and antivirus software and anti-malware software for their devices. But at the end of the day, 4 out of 5 of these things are caused by someone clicking on something or going somewhere where they shouldn't go. So I just had a thought when you were doing the intro that this is kind of like when social media first popped onto the scene, maybe 10, 12 years ago. In the corporate environment, they came out with all these policies and they said, don't get on Facebook and talk like you're, our company. You're not our company, right? Everything has to go through the proper communications channels. And there's a real shift, right, to get people's head around that. And I think the stakes are so high now with ransomware and other things that are disrupting business that we're in the middle of one of those shifts again, where it really is incumbent upon the employees and the contractors and the staff to try to understand what some of these issues are and what their role is in trying to prevent them from happening.
It's a great point, because I remember the days where the IT department would make their upgrades. You would get an email and says, we're upgrading our software, our server, over the weekend. And so you won't be able to log in. Business as usual when you come in Monday. And it used to be the IT department or the persons in charge of that would operate sort of on a silo and taking care of those different upgrades that are being done. Gabby, from your end, are you seeing leaders, managers taking a different approach to embrace their team members, to buy into technology, to become familiar with social engineering, ransomware? What are you noticing with the different organizations that you work with?
What most leaders are doing to embrace new technologies is involving the team members, all the stakeholders, and in asking questions. That is kind of one of the best approach to incorporate any new technology or any new workflow or any new reengineering on systems or new ways of doing things, and even if implies technology. Because we human beings resist most of the time to people to tell us what to do. So if you are my boss and you come and tell me, Gabriela, we shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this, and we are going to begin to do that, and I might say yes, kind of automatically, but then I will not make it happen. And so that is when the 87% human error or habits or ways of operating comes in. It's like sometimes it's the resistance that we have to new technologies. Sometimes is we are just like not resisting the change, but we forget that we are humans. So the idea is that leaders embrace the team through questions. Like they begin to ask, do you like where the company's going? And they begin to share what the company's going. And then it's like, what changes do you do? So they are part of the decision making. In the big corporations, it's not that easy to do that. Unless you are a VP or a director or a manager, you can participate in those kind of conversations. In small companies, it's more doable. And there is always resistance because the values of the culture of the organization can be completely aligned with the technology, like transparency, honesty, commitment, like all the beautiful words, you know what I mean? But in the everyday work, then there is someone that forget to change the password, or there is someone that didn't do the update, or there is someone that didn't enter the data that was needed to produce certain specific results. Or so one thing is the technology, and the other thing is that is all completely related is the security in technology, the cyber risk. And in both the human error is there. But that is to answer your question again, leaders, what they are asking is asking how we can embrace the culture and how we can make the vision that we have together. It's not just my vision as the leader of the company, what we can do to embrace. And that might imply changes in the way that we operate. And the newer technologies bring engineering the workflows, reorganizing the workflows. Most of the time, also technology is seen not only they are changing, sometimes it's seen as an imposition. So I am resisting the change. Sometimes it's kind of like, I think I was sharing with you that it's like when you have a housekeeper and they organize your kitchen, and you are completely used to have certain things in certain place, and suddenly you are in the middle of the cooking, like completely like excited, and you're looking for that big knife or whatever, and then where did they put the knife? And then you are looking for the pan, and it's like, what is my pan? Like it's always here. It's kind of, it implies a complete rearrangement of the way we think and the habits. And it's very disappointing and upsetting many times. Sometimes the trainings that we do helps. Sometimes not, because people sometimes go to the training just and sit down because they want to do the checklist. They are not there. So I think it's something that we are always cultivating. And the best is for all the stakeholders that belong to an organization to kind of keep developing the engagement and the relationship with the values, with the beliefs of the attitudes that are, and what it means to me, and if I am being consistent with that or not. And the other thing that happens with technology inside leadership and management, and sometimes it's seen as an imposition to do the work faster. Like technology kind of dominates me. Like I love technology. I am literally waiting to have my robotic cows. I want just to wake up and says coffee, like double espresso, and then whatever, the car is washed and everything is kind of done. I would love that. Like literally, I would love that. But some people don't like that.
Yeah,
and,
you're touching on a lot of key points, I think, inside of like, us as humans and how we interact with technology. I'm a big fan of Peter Drucker, and one of the things that I've enjoyed about reading or learning about him was his focus on the Industrial Revolution, and how the horse became obsolete, how tractors displaced farm workers, and how automated machinery or manufacturing displaced the worker and the manufacturing plant. So technology has constantly been evolving, and it has throughout humanity. It has throughout the ages, and it does seem that now it's evolving in a different.
It's evolving more. Like in the next years, we are going to have like an amazing. I say amazing. I use amazing, but it could be like a big jump in technology. Like artificial intelligence is taking over, and I get annoyed with artificial intelligence. Like the other day, I think I was with some kind of. I needed to do an exchange, and I was talking to a robot, and I was like getting frustrated. I need a human. I need a real representative. And it keeps asking me the same questions all the time, because what is missing in artificial intelligence, that is why it would be only artificial intelligence. Humans are needed, because we bring the relationship part, the resolving problem in conversation, the getting, I am getting you, I got you, I feel you. What is there is the intuitive decision making, even the sales. Like big companies are going to realize that once that goes completely to artificial intelligence, they are going to lose opportunities of sales, for example, because there are certain things that customers say in conversation that for a salesperson or a customer representative are intuitively an opportunity to be at service. The robot is not programmed to understand that the artificial intelligence is going to miss be missed opportunity. So I think it's going to be more artificial intelligence, but it will never disappear what we offer as humans. And what is going to keep transforming and challenging us is how we interact with the technology. I think the technology is going to bring more of a better experience in our work, with our work, including changing things that matters in the world. Like there are, for example, Google works a lot in climate change. They have the cloud that they have manage and supports business to reduce waste and to impact climate change. So they are fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goal for the United Nations, number 13. So, and it's done through technology. So, it's in different ways.
Yeah, what I'm noticing in terms of like the AI part of it and that coming in is that, it's doing what the Industrial Revolution did to physical labor. It's now coming into white labor jobs, and it's a lot faster. If you look at auditing, from an accounting standpoint, right now, softwares are talking to banks, they're talking to credit cards, and all of that data is getting synchronized within seconds or live as you do it. So there is this higher rate of speed and higher level of complexity that's evolving. And there isn't just the technology part of it, is what I'm hearing from a leadership management standpoint, Gabby, is that, you know, organizations need to look at also tapping into their human potential, their human talent. And that might be like helping someone develop new ways of being, new ways of thinking. And it's something that organizations haven't really been, some do it, but it hasn't been, you know, a big part of the environment or the culture. And we're seeing we've
but yeah, most organizations are not into that kind of conversation. They are more focused in let's make more sales and let's make more money, and it's okay because that's what moves business. But there is a huge factor, that is the human factor, that regardless of the amount of artificial intelligence or technology that is going to be brought or is already there, is going to be kind of half and a half, or even like not even half the technology. And I don't think humans we are going to lose, and because what we bring is so special. But what is important for organizations inside the leadership and management is exactly what you just said, like how we can begin to bring every team member and stakeholder getting related with technologies in a way that creates balance and creates service, and feel what we are up to in the companies.
And this, you know, Max, brings us back to the efficiency, the productivity that's gained with technology, and the mobility that we're actually, you know, where we're able to work from and how we're able to move. And from your, you know, cyber liability insurance is an area that I've been just interested in. Technology from a risk management standpoint, it's an area that captivated me, you know, long ago. And it started a relationship that was sort of fear-based technology, you know, the Terminator, right? Like technology's coming for us. And there's that, you know, sort of psyche, sort of thinking that comes from films or books that we're reading. But my relationship to technology has transformed to where these tools are actually making life a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable for humanity and for a lot of us. And it's also allowing organizations to be able to be more mobile, more agile, create more of a lifestyle with their team members. But with that also comes this navigating of this new ocean, new world, new environment, using public Wi-Fi's. You know, if you have a workforce that's moving and being mobile or traveling, what are some of the protocols? And there's both the, you know, there's the technology, hardware, software, but there's also the hygiene. There's also the human level in there to create those partnerships. And I remember, you know, traveling to Mexico and traveling to El Salvador, and I'm going through my laptop and my iPhone, and I'm seeing certain things not operate as they do here in America, right? And there are certain things, my headphones were saying, you know, you're now connected to your iPhone 3 when I have an, you know, an iPhone 12, and that just changed on its own. And it just raised a lot of red flags and alarms for me. It's like, did somebody tap into my phone? And so I wanted to touch base on that. You know, as we look at organizational culture, how much is technology, and that we need to know or like be able to look and understand certain mechanics when we're working on a public Wi-Fi or a private Wi-Fi, or working with a, you know, hardwire computer versus a, you know, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi technology. And then also, like, what do we as humans need to understand? Because there's the technology, the software, the hardware, and then there's us as humans interacting with it and wanting to have things to be easier and simpler.
Yeah, there's a couple different points that you raised there. Traveling with technology, everybody loves the convenience, right? Especially after the pandemic. You know, you can go to the coffee shop, or you can make a trip to another state to be with family, and, you know, no one from the office knows where you are, you know, as long as you make your meetings and things on time. But, you know, there's a couple different aspects to look at this. The first one is really the physical. And so it's important to keep track of these assets, right? So you have a laptop. It probably has a lot of things on there that you care about, both from a personal and professional standpoint. So you've got to keep those things secure. So, I always advise people when they're traveling to and from a location, the best place to put it is in the trunk, and the second best place to put it is behind your seat, right? Never put that kind of stuff on the passenger seat where someone can smash the window at a stoplight and take it from you. There's also I've traveled a lot on airplanes, and I'm stunned by what people will pull up on their laptop in the middle of a flight. They make a privacy screen device that you can put on your laptop, the information that you're, whether it's a legal brief that you're working on or something else, you can get a privacy screen that allows only you to see what's on the screen. So there's this physical standpoint, and then from an information security standpoint, as you were mentioning, when you travel to Mexico, the carriers in this country, Verizon, AT&T, and that, they capture a certain amount of information about you, and they provide that to the authorities as required. In other places, it's much more loosey-goosey, right? So whereas, let's say here, you needed a court order to get some information about where I was or what IP addresses I was coming in from, in another country, that might not be the case, right? The security services of a particular country could have direct access to that information. And so you really have to be careful with that and what you're doing. And so I recommend a VPN, whether you're down in the Starbucks down the street or whether you're traveling to another country. And then, as you mentioned, with the Bluetooth headphones, you just have to be aware of which of these things is on your phone. You have to be comfortable with turning off Bluetooth, or you have to be comfortable with turning off Wi-Fi if you don't need it. And then there's a cost one too, which is before you travel, you really need to check with your carrier about what the rates are going to be in a foreign country for both your voice and your data and your text.
Thank you. And one of the things that I'm noticing with technology is that sometimes it comes out, we run with it, and then we're learning how to use it in the process, right? So we all love that space that has Wi-Fi that we could just quickly pull into and work from there. And I've done it when I traveled, when I started traveling, it's like I was just look for the places that had Wi-Fi because I knew I could answer texts, I could answer emails and take that pause there. But how secure are these Wi-Fi that are public, and what are some of the things that, leadership, management, team members should be talking about as they move around and work from anywhere?
So the thinking for the average person, I'm sure, is that, when I'm at work, I plug in, my laptop, it's got a hard connection in there. And those kinds of connections are very difficult to sort of break into, right? You have to have physical access to the location. You have to know how to plug into the corporate switch without getting caught, right? There's a lot of know-how that has to be in place to be able to do something like that. And you got to be physically adjacent, right? With Wi-Fi, it's different. You could be at, somebody's corporate headquarters and they have guest Wi-Fi. Now that's going to be almost as good as a hardwired connection, right? Because the signals that are coming off of your laptop are not going to be able to be looked at by anybody else. You go to Starbucks, I'm not sure it's the same. That's enterprise class technology that keeps those signals separate. So if you're just at Joe's coffee shop and you're on your laptop typing, there is nothing stopping anyone in range from capturing all of the traffic on your that's coming from your laptop. and it's like a radio broadcast. Your laptop is like an FM radio station broadcasting everything that it's doing.
And if you're, you're working off of your own laptop, your hardware, but what if you're in Wi-Fi, but you're accessing like a cloud workspace somewhere? Is there like encryption in there? Does it depend on the vendor? Like, these are, from a leadership management standpoint, these are sort of all new learnings that we're all having to make in the process. And unless you've been in technology, most of us are playing catch up.
Right. So there's, like if you go to get your Google Mail, right, that traffic is going to be encrypted, and difficult, very difficult to break. The same with, going to your bank or whatever. The issue around these sorts of things is the unencrypted things that you're doing, and then the encrypted things that you're doing. All that is traceable. I mean, it can capture it, right? I can show you 5 places on the internet where you can download packet capture software that will allow you to look at all that stuff on your computer. And this matters especially for people that are what they call spearfish. So a fish is really, I send out thousands or tens of thousands of emails to every combination of addresses I can think of at State Farm, and I'm hoping that someone is going to click on that. Out of that 10,000 emails I send, I'm gonna get a click or two. Spear phishing is much different. It's targeted, right? And so the more I know about you, the more I know that you use these sort of SaaS services, or that you use this bank or whatever, I can begin to build a profile. And when I send you that email, that fish email, it's not gonna be one of these lousy ones that you see that have the logo is degraded, or there's misspellings or something like that. It's not gonna look like that. It's gonna be crafted just for you, and it's gonna have enough information in there to make you think that it's real, to raise the percentage that you'll click. Right. And so it's part of that profile building that is the danger.
And a big part of that is human beings, right? Again, we're clicking, or we get tricked into clicking into something, or baited into clicking into something. How much of, this back end of understanding technology, should team members be aware of? Or like, Gabby, from a leadership management standpoint, to what degree, to what level should organizations be informing, educating, and having their team members understand the inner workings of this technology? And I'm thinking to create the buy-in, right? Because there's a buy-in that needed from the organization's team members, but there's also an understanding of how Wi-Fi works, or why certain things need to be done the way they need to be done. And it's bringing us to, another topic in this conversation, which is the compliance part of it. And
yeah, I was going to tell you that
advisors, banks.
There are industries that needs permanent training inside cyber security. And they are like, if you are in certain industries, like literally you don't leave your computer in the car. You go to the bathroom, and you go even to happy hour with your computer. Like if you're in the financial world, like, because you're liable, and the computer is registered under FINRA, and they know exactly what or the house under you are working with, and so on. Like those industries are they have high standards of security, of course. But at the same time, we are humans. And like those high end level security sometimes ask you to change the password like every 90 days or 60 days, and then you forgot, and then they don't ask you, like usually there is a tech person and a specialist like Max that arrange all of that exactly specifies what is the password that should be used. They don't even let you choose such. So some industries like are fiduciary and manage like a high level of data, or data that is very critical, they have that. Now, if you just have like a customer management software, like a CRM, sometimes you don't have all of those habits, and you might be managing social securities or bank information inside. So I think there is sometimes what happens with management and leadership is like, okay, if new technology comes, you receive the training, and it's like, it's already done. They got the training. We already told them. But we, most of the time, don't listen the first time or even the second. So it's like a reminder, and reminding people that matters, and the risks, and
you have to
making them conscious. Like even now, that I don't know if my internet actually is falling. Like I got frozen for a moment. I think I am traveling.
You're good.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Speaking of Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah. Well, I was kind of like, okay, I will have my computer open for a moment, but literally it says Google is telling you that there is the Wi-Fi that you are using can have like some whatever breach, and I'm like, oh, kind of like that. And then I am thinking in what he says about the airplane, and I was desperate for internet, so I accept Wi-Fi in the airport, whatever, and then I subscribe from the airline Wi-Fi, and then now I am in this Wi-Fi, and my computer, my devices are freaking out. I am talking to you guys, and my iCloud is popping up all the time, like asking me questions, like what happened. Anyways, I think like for me, it's changing. Like I remember yesterday, I was desperate for Wi-Fi, and I was tired, and I just in asking certain questions, and I went like, yes, just give me the Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And maybe I should say something that was not appropriate, because I was kind of like, give me the Wi-Fi, please. I have like 20 more minutes, and I need to see that document, that kind of thing. So being human is being human. We are, and there is a lot of compassion and empathy and error that we bring with our habits and our thinking, and like I did, something I did, I know I am not at risk, but I hope. But
well, I had a similar experience, and Max, you and I chatted about when we move or we travel, how the computers act different. And just like as Gabby's describing, my thought is there someone seeing her data or watching what she's doing as she's going through this? And is that what has computers act a little wacky? Because I've had those experiences, and every time I see that, it's a red flag that comes to me.
It could be. It's more likely that what's going on is the advertisement engines, behind the sites that you're using, are seeing that your IP address is from Mexico or some other place, and so they're trying to serve you ads and things that are more appropriate for that location. I used to travel to India twice a year, and every time I would open up a web page in India, I would get ads for dating and for jobs. It's almost exclusive. So most of that is pretty innocuous, but some of it is not. They're trying to get you to click. It's just like the phishing emails. And that's what I would.
Some good information marks, like about the VPN, for example. I remember when I was in India or in Asia. When you're in Asia, I usually you put a VPN, yeah. But no, I never have one to go to a coffee shop or to travel. And you are bringing actually a new level of awareness, I think, for all of us listening to you inside that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my recommendation is to not use public Wi-Fi. So the airport or any of those locations is not to use it. Learn how to tether to your phone or do things on your phone and stay away from the Wi-Fi. But if you have to, and I understand there are occasions when you have to, then definitely use a VPN. There are a bunch out there. It's not that expensive. It's not that hard to use them. The other thing that I was going to mention, Gabby, when you're talking earlier, is this this security awareness and training. So this has to be a constant thing, right?
Yes, 100%.
And because if the threats are ever evolving, the part of that is you have to do these phishing simulations. In other words, you have to do real world tests on your folks to see if they're going to click on these things before you, as a part of your, a security program. And one of the things I didn't mention on the physical one, and it has to do with airports and other public locations, I just wanted to get this in there. Plugging your device into a charger at an airport, the USB chargers. I'm not talking about the electrical outlet where you have your own charger, but if you do that, you are also opening up yourself to other problems. It's just like when they replace the keypad at a gas pump. It's the same thing. And there's a device you can buy. It's about $5, and it blocks all of the data signals, so you can still charge your phone while abroad in these unprotected USB outlets, but you don't have the exposure of plugging in and finding out that there's something on the other side of that besides electricity.
What is the name of that product? Because actually I plug my those things.
Yeah, you can search on
Two
Amazon.
devices like this.
Yeah. You can search on Amazon for USB data blocker, and you'll
USB data blocker. Okay.
see a bunch.
So I want to take advantage. We have a question that came up, and it's ransomware stories are a huge part of 2021 and 2022. What exactly is it, and how does it happen? How do you mitigate the risk?
Don't click on things that you're not supposed to. Most of the time, this is happening through a phishing email, which installs some software on your machine, and then it tries to spread itself, and then after a certain time, it detonates. And what that means is that it encrypts all of your data on your computer, and so you can't get it anymore. And so typically they require you to pay in some sort of a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin to get a de-encryption key so that you can unencrypt your data. That's the most common sort of attack, and it can be done through a phishing email. It can be done through a link on a website. There's different ways that they can get it across onto your machine. And it is very prevalent. It is the most common attack today. One has been for the last, 3 years or so. You can buy this if you're a bad actor. You can go onto the dark web and you can buy a ransomware as a service, and you can attempt to put that on people's machines. So this is kind of back to what I was talking about stealing signals off of the Wi-Fi. This doesn't take an expert to do. This is something they can buy readily available.
Wow.
And it could be done from, I'm distinguishing the social, the phishing part of it, and then the spear phishing that you said, which is more precise and more targeted. And both are similar. It's an attempt to trick you into doing something, but
Right.
one is more of those massive emails that you get that come in and they ask you to click. The spear phishing, I'm understanding, is more of very specific, very targeted, more like a sniper approach than
Yeah,
a shotgun approach.
it's definitely targeted. And if you let's say that I'm building this profile on you, and I understand that you're using Salesforce, right? I can actually scrape Salesforce's website. I can make my own website, and I can change the URL or the domain to say mysalesforce.com or whatever. And it looks exactly, the graphics are exactly the same. The username input box is the same. The password box is the same, right? And so if you're not paying attention, and if you're used to clicking on things that come in your email, you click that and you see the Salesforce login, you enter in your credentials, I own you. It's over with. I'm in your account, you're locked out, and I can do whatever you can do inside of Salesforce. That's what the spearfishers are going for.
So we are at the last 5 minutes of our conversation, and I want to, check in with both of you. Any, like, Gavi, there's two elements that are coming together and converging, right? Like, there's technology and there's us as humans connecting and having technology be part of how we work, the tools that we create and work with. What are thoughts or where does a leader and a manager or a team member begin to start, engaging in these conversations at levels that begin to pave the way to the future and to really embracing technology and, expanding that human potential and partnering with technology to gain those efficiencies and sustainabilities that we're looking for?
I think having these kind of conversations that we are having today, like you can see, like I have another level of awareness about cybersecurity, just with Max. So it needs to be with leaders and managers, needs to, first of all, involve people in what they are embracing for the culture of what is going to be part of the culture of the organization. Like, what are the new workflows, or what are the new systems, and how we are going to engage. And most of the time, having one person managing the compliance and the fulfillment of it helps a lot. Sometimes it's the person from technology, but sometimes it's another person that has the capacity to deal with a lot of details. It is kind of control, and it's another pair of eyes. So it's managers needs to embrace the team. They need to train them not only one time at the beginning, kind of like, oh, they give us the training, why you don't remember. It is like retraining and training and having many conversations where they do at schools, like my daughter does, they do in their high school, they do in middle school and elementary school, like the drillings, like they are pretending that something happened there, or running under the desks, or running outside in the patio and things like that, for an earthquake or fire or things like that. And I think that is very important, because it's bringing a level of awareness. And it's kind of a martial art, that you go and practice like a defense.
Yeah.
Go and pay to do a course to learn to protect yourself, and then you know how to stand and how to put yourself, and what at least like 3 movements that have you safe. But if you don't practice that all the time, it will not come automatically. So it needs to be a reminder ongoingly, and a practice, like going to the gym. This is what we are doing, like bringing security at that level. Yeah.
And thank you, Gavi. And Max, we have a question that I think would be that I want you invite you to answer. And the question is, does the end user or consumer assume any responsibility for not safeguarding or taking precautions to protect themselves while on a public Wi-Fi, for example?
Well, the short answer is they assume all responsibility. Many times you'll see, posted someplace, or maybe as a part of getting onto the Wi-Fi, like especially in a hotel, right? There's some verbiage there that says, don't do anything bad, and if anything bad happens to you, that's your fault, right? So they're trying to absolve themselves of the blame, right? So it's a convenience, but they want to make sure. I mean, the wise ones are trying to make sure you understand there's some risk there.
Yeah. It's a great question. It's giving me thoughts for even a future conversation, because if you are an independent contractor or a consultant and you are using public Wi-Fi and there's harm that happens to your client or the loss of data, there likely will be implications there because of where the breach is happening from. But it's also like, as an individual, what are the implications of having your data or your passwords be taken from your computer as you're using it? So We are at time at 11:15. I love those questions, and these questions help us formulate the next conversations into the future. If you want to learn more about Max, you could learn more about him at kimbleanalytics.com. And if you want to learn more about Gabriela Soto, you could find her on LinkedIn under Gabriela Soto. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to the next conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you.